Shreyas, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I hope you all can hear me. So I have told you to mark 5 points, right? From chemical bonding. Okay, so I'm sharing that screen again. So I hope you have already marked it. It's on page number 34 on your textbook. So I'll just explain the points now. So the first point is state. Okay, so in state, electrovalent and covalent. So ionic compounds, that is electrovalent compounds, they exist in the solid state all the times, and the reason is that they have strong electrostatic force of attraction. Okay, and in case of covalent bonds, it will be like the compounds can exist in gases, as gases or liquids or soft solids. The reason being the force of attraction between the particles, they're very weak, and we call it as the van der Waals force of attraction. You will underline that van der Waals forces which is mentioned on that first point on the right hand side. Okay, under covalent compounds, you will underline the van der Waals forces. Okay, so that is important because that will be the reason. Okay, now the second point is melting point and heating point. Sorry, boiling point. Uh, so melting point, ionic compounds have high melting point and boiling point because they have got high electrostatic force of attraction. So it is very difficult to break the bonds. So as a result, they have high melting and boiling point. In case of covalent compounds, they'll be having low melting point because again, the force of attraction is very weak and it is easy to break the bond between the particles. As a result, the melting and boiling point of the particles, I mean the covalent compounds, are very less. The third point is very simple, conduction of heat. Ionic compounds are very good conductors of heat, and covalent compounds are very bad conductors. Similarly, for conduction of electricity, it is very important here to note that uh, ionic compounds in the solid state, they are non-conductors. They are conductors only in the molten state or aqueous state. Okay, aqueous state as in if I'm taking the compound, I'm putting it into water, that is when it becomes a good conductor of electricity. So that is a point to be noted. And in case of covalent compounds, the conduction of electricity is not there in any state you take. So it is like liquid state or gaseous state or solid state, it's going to be the same, that is they are going to be non-conductors of electricity. And the last point which we are discussing is dissociation and ionization. This is a very important point. Here what happens is that in case of ionic compounds, ionic compounds undergo dissociation. Okay, so the reason for ionic compounds to undergo dissociation is that it is already made up of ions. So we just have to dissociate the ion, that is separation of ion which takes place. Meanwhile, for covalent compounds, there are no ions present in it. So it is like we are taking a compound and the compound is undergoing breaking of the bond for the first time, as a result forming the ions for the first step, and hence that particular point is called as ionization. So there is a difference between dissociation and ionization. So dissociation is when there are already ions present, we are just dissociating it, and ionization is when we just have a compound and we are breaking that into its ions for the first time. That is what is called as ionization. So these are the points which we have to study from properties and comparison. Okay, is there any doubt? If you have any doubt, you will raise your hand. If there's no doubt, can you please show me a thumbs up so that I can start with the next topic? Okay, cool. Okay, so that's all we have to learn from this chapter, the second chapter. Now, as I already told you when we started this chapter last in the last class, this is the second chapter and this is the last chapter, which is only theory where you don't have to study any equations or any formulas or anything like that. The simplest chapters of all. So I will tell you what all to mark from this chapter. So I want you to go to the first page of this chapter now. Okay, so that is page number 21. As I always tell you, um, scope of syllabus. Make sure you're following the scope of syllabus properly, right? So the first thing which you'll be studying is on page number 23. That is what is chemical bond and what is chemical bonding. You can see it on page number 23 on the top of that page, right on the top. You'll mark that chemical bonding. Okay. After that, on the next page, we have, that is page number 24, we have electrovalent or ionic bond, then electrovalent or ionic compound, and electrovalency. Okay. So you will study this. This is supposed to be understood. They will ask you what is electrovalency and all. They will not ask you to define, obviously, but then you need to know what is electrovalency. So all these things we have already explained it. Then on the next page, we have structure of electrovalent compound, sodium chloride. So we have got three electrovalent compounds which have to be studied. The first one is sodium chloride. On that page, you'll be studying just the electron dot structure, okay, which is just above the orbit structure. Okay, electron dot structure, that is, it is mentioned, it is given on the page. Okay, you will study only that. Ionic equation is also important, but then, like, that will be shown in the class once the school reopens, because it is very difficult to explain without a board. I don't have a whiteboard, that's why we are doing this screen sharing thing. Okay, so that equation thing, I'll be doing it when we go for next chapters. When we have equations, at that time I'll show you how to do the ionic equation, even though it is not there in the scope of syllabus, but then it's good to know how to do that. Okay, so electron dot structure of sodium chloride is important on that page. That is page number 25. Now on page number 26, again, electron dot structure of calcium oxide. Okay, calcium oxide. And on the next page, we have electron dot structure of magnesium chloride. Okay, now here, from this magnesium chloride thing, they will ask you a give reason question. That is, when magnesium chloride compound is formed, why is it that, like, we have two chlorine atoms combining with one magnesium atom? Okay, so the answer for that is on the same page under the heading transfer of electrons. If you can see that, transfer of electrons. So it says that magnesium atom donates two electrons. You know that the electronic configuration of magnesium is 282, so it has got two electrons in the valence shell. So to become stable, it has to give away two electrons. But then you know that the valency of chlorine is just, like, -1, so it can accept only one electron. So in order to accept the second electron from magnesium, we have to take one more chlorine atom, and that is how magnesium donates both the electron and becomes stable. Okay, is that clear? Okay, cool. Okay. Then on the next page, we have, that is page number 28, we have covalent bond, covalent compound, and covalency. All these things you will study. Question will be, what is covalent bond, what is covalency? So not a definition, so you can study that and you can write it in your own words. And the most important thing on that page is the difference between non-polar covalent compounds and polar covalent compounds. This was explained in the last class. So there are 2 points and you'll study both the points. Okay, so this will come as a distinguish between question in your board exam. So it's a very important question, so mark it as important. Now on the next page onwards, we have got structures of all the covalent compounds. Each and every covalent compound mentioned in the chapter is important. Okay, so all the covalent compounds, that is hydrogen and chlorine, which is on page number 29. Again, you will be studying only the electron dot structure, nothing else. Okay, on the next page 30, we have got oxygen and nitrogen. And then on page number 31, we have got carbon tetrachloride and methane. On page number 32, we have got water and ammonia. On page number 33, we have got formation of hydronium ion and ammonium ion. Now, in this is a very important question, because this question comes for sure in your board exams. Okay, either ammonium ion or hydronium ion should be coming in the board exam. So what you will do here is that you have to study. There will be two types of questions which will be asked. The first type of question will be to show the formation of ammonia molecule. So when the question is formation of ammonia molecule, so you have to show both LHS and RHS. Okay, now LHS and RHS, as in on the left hand side, you are showing how we are taking ammonia, and then how hydrogen ion is added to it and how ammonium ion is formed. Similarly for hydronium, how we are taking water on the left hand side, we are adding one hydrogen ion and we are getting hydronium ion on the right hand side. Okay, so this is when we are being asked, that is formation. Otherwise they will just ask you to draw the structure. So if the question is draw the structure, you will just draw the right hand side, that is just the structure of hydronium ion or ammonium ion. So the point is to not waste time drawing the formation if the question is just draw the structure. Say for example, this year, that is this board exam, we had to draw the structure. So in that case, you just have to draw the structure of this thing. So all these structures, whatever we are studying now, so all these things you have to um, we have to learn the formation as well as the structure, but then you look at the question which is being asked over there in the question paper and you will draw accordingly. Okay, so formation, if the question says formation of hydronium ion, you have to draw the left hand side and the right hand side. And if the question is just draw the structure of hydronium ion, you will just draw the hydronium ion. Now if you see, in all those structures we have got hydronium ion in the electron dot form and also in the bond form, that is like, using dash and arrow mark. You can see that, like in both hydronium and ammonium. So in that case, the important one is the first one, that is where it is represented as dots and crosses. Okay, so dots and crosses are important. So when you're drawing the formation or when you're drawing the structure, you cannot draw the structure with the normal bonds, that is your dash and the arrow wala part. Okay, you have to represent it like your dot and cross wala structure. So that has to be carefully marked. So even if the question is asked and you draw only the electron dot form, you get full marks, but then if you draw the other one, you will get 0 marks. Okay, because the question will be to draw the electron dot structure of these compounds. So you need to draw the electron dot structure of these compounds. Okay, so is there any doubt in the formation of hydronium and ammonium ion? If there is no doubt, can you show me a thumbs up? I can go ahead. Okay, cool. Okay, so on the same page now, at the bottom we have got coordinate bond. Okay, coordinate bond is a type of covalent. Okay, I'm sorry, there is this network issue over here. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Okay, so you will mark the coordinate bond, children, on page number 33. Okay. Ha, nice, Siri. Thank you so much. Okay, so that's all. And on page number 34, we already marked everything, right? Okay, so that's all from this chapter. On page number 35, we have got a summary chart, which is actually some, like, you can use this page actually to study all the structure. Okay, because everything is given on the same page. Okay, so that's about chemical bonding. I will give you the questions which has to be marked and written in your notebooks. I'll put it in the groups so that we don't waste time doing that over here. Okay, so I'll put the question numbers in the group. So okay, coordinate bond, there is a doubt in coordinate bond. Is there anybody else who has got a doubt in coordinate bond? Can you raise your hand? Okay. Yeah, Swara, what happened? 1 second.
When you had explained coordinate bonding, there was too much disturbance, so I was not able to understand it.
Okay, fine. I'll explain coordinate bond again. So coordinate bond is actually covalent bond. Okay. And the only difference between coordinate bond and covalent bond is that in covalent bond, okay, so the electrons are shared between two atoms. Okay. Two atoms, they share equal number of electrons, right? And in coordinate bond, only one atom gives both electrons from bond. You need to know that a bond is formed between two electrons, and two electrons are separated from one bond. In case of a covalent bond,
So,
Can you hear me, Swara? Yeah. Okay. So as I was telling you, coordinate bond is formed between two non-metals again, and the difference between a covalent bond and a coordinate bond is that in covalent bonds electrons are shared between both the atoms, okay, which means that if two atoms are coming together, one electron from each atom is shared to form one bond. In case of coordinate bond, the bond is formed between those two atoms and the electrons comes from just one atom. Okay, so in this case of, say, we can take ammonium ion, which is on page number 33. So you can see that ammonium ion is represented with an arrow mark which goes from nitrogen to hydrogen, right? So that arrow mark is nothing but something which shows that nitrogen is donating those two electrons. The electrons you can see on the left hand side, you can see there's two electron, two dots over there. Both the electrons are shared by nitrogen to form a bond between nitrogen atom and hydrogen atom. And since nitrogen is donating both the electrons, it is shown by an arrow mark, that is nitrogen is giving to hydrogen. That is why the arrow is going from the nitrogen atom to the hydrogen atom. Okay, so this is the difference between a coordinate bond and a covalent bond, right? So covalent bond, you can take another example. So on the same page, if you can see, you have got formation of ammonia or formation of water molecule. You can see that when we are forming water molecule, one electron of hydrogen and one electron of oxygen, both of them are shared, and then there is a bond formed, right? So that is a covalent bond. Coordinate bond, like hydrogen ion, which is coming to form a bond over here, say if it is hydronium ion or ammonium ion, we'll stick to ammonium ion to avoid like confusion. So you can see that ammonium ion, you can see one hydrogen ion is coming. What is a hydrogen ion? Hydrogen ion is hydrogen atom which has got no electrons. Okay, so there are no electrons. Obviously, it cannot share any electrons. So that is the reason why nitrogen is giving both the electrons for that particular thing. Okay, so this is how it works. So I hope it is clear now, right? Okay. Anybody else? Any doubt? You can. Okay. 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 I hope it is clear. If there's anyone who didn't understand anything, can raise your hand. If. Yeah. Okay. Siri, wait a second. Yes, Siri. What
Uh,
happened? Yes.
so I didn't understand the coordinate bond again.
You didn't listen to what I explained it now.
I listened it. I didn't understand anything.
Fine. Okay. So you take page number 33. Everybody who didn't understand coordinate bond, please take page number 33. We will stick to the formation of ammonium ion. Okay. Everyone. Right. Okay. So here, coordinate bond, before we go into that, please read what is given as coordinate bond over there. So it says that it is the type of covalency which involves one of the combining atoms contributing both of the shared electrons. So, so it is a covalent bond for sure. So you know how covalent bonds are formed. So covalent bonds are formed when electrons are shared between two atoms. Yes, right. So here what is happening is that in coordinate bonds, that is say ammonium ion we are taking. Okay, so ammonium ion is formed when ammonia molecule is bonding with hydrogen ion. You can see ammonia molecule in your textbook. You can see hydrogen ion in your textbook. Okay, you can see that ammonia has got a lone pair. Now, how many of you don't know what a lone pair is? Raise your hand. Everybody knows what a lone pair is. Okay, for those who don't know what a lone pair is, lone pair of electrons are the ones which do not participate in bond formation. Okay, so that is, it does not take part in bond formation, so it remains free over there. Okay, so you can see that in ammonia molecule we have got a lone pair which is written on the right hand side of nitrogen atom if you look at your textbook. Okay, and it is circled, those two electrons. So those are the lone pair of electron, and you can see hydrogen ion written next to it, that is written next to the ammonia molecule. So uh, what happens over here is that this hydrogen ion comes to form a bond with ammonia. Now you have to know that hydrogen ion is hydrogen atom which does not contain an electron. Okay, so hydrogen atom is not containing any electron over there. As a result, what happens is that nitrogen is forced to give both the electrons for bonding process. So as I already told you, bonds are formed when two electrons combine with each other. So since hydrogen ion does not have an electron, nitrogen gives both the electron to form a bond between ammonia and hydrogen. As a result, we get ammonium ion, and that is the reason why when we are drawing the structure of ammonium ion, there is an arrow mark which is shown going from the nitrogen atom to the hydrogen atom, which clearly shows that nitrogen is sharing both the electrons used for the bond formation. Is that clear? Everyone? Is coordinate bonding clear? Yes? Okay. So we're done. Siddharth, you have a doubt?
सर टेक्स्ट बुक नहीं है तो मैं कैसे लिखूं?
टेक्स्ट बुक नहीं है, किधर है बेटा तेरा टेक्स्ट बुक? बेच दिया है क्या?
स्कूल में है, स्कूल में है।
क्या बात है। ओके, टेक्स्ट बुक नहीं है तो एक काम कर, फॉर द नेक्स्ट क्लास यू।
नहीं सर, मैंने रॉल से मांगा है।
हाँ ठीक है, वो कर ले, नहीं तो फिर you can ask somebody to share like pics or something. You can open it on your screen when I'm teaching, right? Okay, fine. Anybody else who's got a doubt? I hope there is no doubt. Okay. Okay, so can we move to the next topic? Please show me a thumbs up. We can move to the next topic. Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Okay. If there are any more doubts pending in this chapter, please post it in the group. I'll answer all the questions over there. Okay. So I'm having like, I don't have a board. First of all, it is very difficult. And on top of it, like, the network is unstable. Okay, so please bear with it. If you have any more doubts from this chapter, please put it in the groups. I'll answer all the questions which are being asked over there, right? Okay. So the next topic which we are going to study, the next chapter which we are going to study is from compounds. Okay. Compounds, the first compound which we are studying is hydrogen chloride, HCl. Okay, so I want everyone to take that chapter in your textbook. Okay, everybody, okay. So the next chapter is HCl, hydrogen chloride. Okay, so we'll begin with the chapter. I'll give you an idea about what we are doing in this. So, okay. So what we are going to study in study of compounds, we have got 4 compounds, right? I want everyone to listen to what I'm saying. Okay, I've got 4 compounds: hydrogen chloride, ammonia, nitric acid, and sulfuric acid. Okay, so in these chapters, we will be studying how we prepare the compounds in the laboratory. That is point number 1. How do we prepare these compounds, like, in bulk, that is manufacture. And then we will study the physical properties and chemical properties and the uses and the tests. It sounds like a lot, but it is not. Okay, so there are very specific things which has to be studied, and I'll be telling you what all to be studied. You don't have to study all the things which are given in the textbook. So we'll be